Today we're going to be looking at how to solve our equations, specifically with adding and subtracting. So, big thing to remember is when you're solving equations in my class, I expect to see all work. Many of these I know you can look at and you can get the answer and you know the answer before you even do anything. But we're learning the process of how to solve an equation correctly. Because trust me, later on this year, it is not going to be as simple and easy as being able to look at it and know the answer. So with equations, the big thing that you have to remember is you are trying to isolate the variable. And when I say isolate the variable, I mean get the variable, that letter, by itself. It's not supposed to be on the right or left with any value, any constant, only by itself. So we've got to identify the number that we need to remove that is on the same side as that variable. So right now I can see I need to get that h all by itself. Well, how am I going to get that h all by itself? The number I need to get rid of is I have to get rid of this negative 21. Well, how do we get rid of things? We get rid of things by using the inverse operation. An inverse means the opposite. So if I said, what's the opposite of up? You hopefully will say down. Left, you would say right. Day, I'm hoping you'd say night. The opposite of adding, subtracting. The opposite of multiplying, dividing. The opposite of subtracting, adding. Opposite of dividing, multiplying. Those are what we call additive inverses. So on that second step, once I know what I need to get rid of, I am now going to isolate that variable by doing the inverse operation. Now we have to be careful because it has to be on both sides. Remember we just did that modeling to know that that equal sign right there, this means that the left and the right side are balanced. They are exactly the same. And if I change one side, I have to do the exact same thing to the other side. Otherwise, that's no longer going to be a nice balanced line. It's going to be something that looks like this. And that's not what we want. We want to keep it nice and level and balanced. So with that negative 21 that I need to get rid of, the inverse operation of that, I'm trying to create a zero pair, additive inverses. So what is the additive inverse, or what would create a zero pair with a negative 21 or a minus 21? I would hope you would tell me to add 21. Now again, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. So I have to add 21 to the right to keep that equation balanced. That is the big thing. Now I need to go ahead and actually simplify both sides. Let's see what we have that remains. Well, you just did a negative 21 and a positive 21. When I add those together, that creates that zero pair I want. So the only thing that's staying on that left side is that letter H. Equals, now I'm adding these two, negative 52 and 21. Well, there's more negatives than positives, so I know my answer is negative. They're on opposite sides of the number line, so I'm going to subtract and get negative 31. Now, my variable is isolated. It's all by itself. Now, on this next step, I'm saying that if we need to, and sometimes it will say, to check your work. To make sure that you actually did that correctly, we're going to replace the variable with the solution we just got. So we're going to go ahead and take that original equation that we saw right here. And we're going to go ahead and instead of putting the variable h, I'm going to put parentheses. Negative 21 equals negative 52. And now I'm going to put that negative 31 that I just got from my solution inside the parentheses to replace that variable? Well, when I subtract, I know that's really adding the opposite. So this is negative 31 plus, because I'm going to change that subtracting to adding, negative 21. And I have more negatives than positives, so they're negative. They're on the same side of the number line, so I add. And I get negative 52 is equal to negative 52. That is a true statement, because that's what I'm looking for, is what if it makes a true statement, I did it correctly, which means I got the right answer. Not like you had any doubt at all. Let's go ahead and look at this next one. Again, I need to isolate the variable. So the variable I have to get by itself is the m. What is on the same side of the m that I need to get rid of? This negative 5. All right, how do we get rid of it? We do the inverse operation. Well, I'm trying to create a zero pair, so the inverse operation of subtract 5 is to add 5. But again, this is an equation. I have to keep it balanced, so I have to add 5 on the right as well. Now let's simplify. This creates a zero pair. So now I've got m equals, well, there's more negatives than positives, so it's definitely negative. They are on opposite sides of the number line, so I subtract, and I get my answer of m is negative 5. Now I'm going to check this one more time just to make sure you understand how to do that. So we're going to go ahead and take that equation again, put parentheses instead of a variable, and write the equation. Now let's go ahead and take our solution of negative 5 and put that in. Again, I see a subtraction sign, so that means I can change this to add the opposite, and I get negative 5 plus negative 5. Well, more negatives than positive. They're definitely negative. They're on the same side, so we add, and we get negative 10. Negative 10 is equal to negative 10. That is true. I know I got it correct. Now let's go ahead and continue to look at the next problem here. Negative 6 plus t. Again, isolate the variable. I have to get this t by itself. So what do I have to get rid of? This negative 6. Find the inverse operation. What's going to create that zero pair? Negative 6 is a positive 6. But we need to do it to both sides. Now, let's go ahead and simplify. Well, that definitely gives me a zero pair, which leaves me with t equals 14 plus 6 is 20. Now again, I know you can go ahead and see that that answer is probably 20 on your own, but I said you do not tell me ever I did it in my head. You are learning the actual mathematical process of isolating a variable. Now let's go ahead and look at D. Now first thing I hope you noticed is it is a subtraction problem. So before I even get started, I'm going to probably change this to P plus add the opposite, 13 equals negative 10. Now the variable I need to get isolated is P. What do I have to get rid of that's on the same side of the P? This positive 13. What is the inverse operation of a positive 13? How can I get a zero pair? Exactly. I'm going to subtract 13. And again, on both sides. Now when I go ahead and simplify, I have my zero pair because those are opposites. And I'm left with P equals, well, negative 10 and a negative 13. There's definitely more negatives than positives. They're on the same side, so I'm going to add them together and get P is equal to negative 23. Now this last problem, we're going to probably do this in class together. But what it's really saying is W plus 6 equals 18. People look at this question, they go, well, I don't understand. What are they trying to say? Again, we'll talk about this in class, so make sure that you've taken all the notes, and we'll come back to that one. So bring this with you complete.